From setting the mood with a flick of a switch to sculpting the shadows that define a scene, these unsung heroes of the set work tirelessly to ensure that every frame is a visual masterpiece. Join me as we unravel the intricacies of their craft, exploring the artistry and technical prowess that go into crafting this perfect cinematic lighting. We'll hear stories from the trenches, learn about the tools of the trade, and gain insights into the challenges and triumphs faced by these lighting maestros. So whether you're a film enthusiast, aspiring filmmaker, or just curious about how the magic happens behind the lens, stay tuned as we illuminate the fascinating career of the Gaffer right here on the Hollywood Lot Life. I just wanted to start this episode by saying thank you so much for everybody watching. If you are watching this episode, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you. I know the community right now is really small, but I think it's great, and I'm grateful for you and all your support. And I'm really excited about this episode that we're about to go into with Andrew, talking about lighting and all these different tactics that in production that I've never really explored or talked about. So I'm super excited about that. So, if this is your first time watching the episode or, 15th time, I just want to thank you. Like I said, Andrew, we're shining a spotlight on him because he plays a crucial role in the filming industry. He is a gaffer or a lighting technician, depending on the day. And his little intro is Andrew is an up-and-coming gaffer and a best boy in Los Angeles, California. His lighting experience brought him to work with brands such as Hexclad, Zwilling, Too Faced, House Labs, and more. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. No, I'm really excited you're here. So the first question that comes to mind when I read this, because I don't even know what this is, what is a gaffer?
Have you your viewers talked about the, I guess, on-set hierarchy of the positions and everything yet, or not really? Okay. Allow me to butcher this real quick. Your producers and stuff on top, the directors under them, and then underneath them is the director of photography or DP or cinematographer or DOP if you're in certain parts of the world. And the gaffer is the head of the lighting department. And basically the lighting department has two sides to it. You have the electric side and the grip side. The grip side is the team that works on providing rigging points for us to put our lights on. They sculpt the light, so they'll put like diffusion frames or soft boxes or something to help soften lights or change the quality of them. They'll also take away light, so they'll put like those black sheets, Duvetine solids and stuff. They'll make it finessed and stuff, but they just don't use electricity. Yeah, so the gaffer is in charge of all the lights, all the power and everything on set. So they'll talk a lot with the DP to figure out what look they're trying to go for. Sometimes the DP is really technical and will actually know what units and things that they want to put in play. Other times they're a little bit more artistic and don't really have a preference on what lighting instruments they want to use. They just have a feeling or some type of source that they want to have. So it's up to the gaffer to interpret what tools they need for the job specifically, so that way we can efficiently do the job and hopefully mitigate a lot of problems that may arise with certain tools and whatnot. Try and be very flexible with that and smart without obviously making the production mad by getting too much that we don't need or can't afford to pay for. So it's a fun game. And below the lighting department head, the gaffer, there's the best boy, and then lighting technicians or electricians.
There's so many levels to it. I had no idea.
There's a lot of levels because we've all seen hopefully the credits at the end of the shows, and that's only the credits that are listed. So, you know, there's thousands of people on these big name movies, even hundreds and probably even thousands on like big music videos and stuff, even, and commercials, all those things that happen behind the scenes. There's so many hands that and minds that touch the project in one way, shape, or form. So,
oh man, I've got so many follow-up questions on this. I'm ready to just dive right into this. So I really quick, before we go into that world, I want to rewind a little bit and talk about where are you from originally? Are you from LA?
Yeah. I grew up in Thousand Oaks, California. So for those who don't know, it's about an hour northwest of LA, hour and a half, depending on which part of LA you want to get to. So definitely one of the suburbs in LA, not technically in Los Angeles County, but right on the border.
And do you currently live there, or where are you living now?
So now I actually live in Huntington Beach, California. So the opposite side of Los Angeles, hopped over it in Orange County. So yeah, but still Southern California, LA adjacent, basically my whole life.
Okay, so did you go to school to be, you know, a lighting technician, or what? Like, where? Tell me your process of how you got involved in the entertainment industry.
Funny enough, I got into it by playing Call of Duty specifically. Stay with me. It's a roundabout story, but I was growing up in middle school about the time of there's a lot of Call of Duty sniping montages, and I was a part of that community and stuff, the small niche group of people that did that. And I remember making a couple episodes and montages and stuff, but waiting so long for an editor to get back all the clips and footage and make it all work. So I'm like, I could edit this. So I started to learn editing there. And because I've had a background in editing, with editing those montages, doing a lot of visual effects work with that, a lot of my video school projects just looked a lot better than everyone else's. And it was something I really enjoyed to do. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is something I can pursue. I thought I was going to be an editor or VFX supervisor, or not even just supervisor, but just one of the people behind the scenes working in the post work on sets and stuff. But in about junior year high school, I started taking photography more seriously. Realized I don't like sitting for a long period of the day. I typically like to see people as well. So being cooped up in a dark room, editing and working on post film and stuff doesn't really appeal to me and my personality. So I was thinking, okay, well, how can I be involved in film, doing things that I like, because I know I don't want to do a 9 to 5. And I heard like there's a director of photography. I heard they're like artsy and technical. They take photography and whatnot. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, let's pursue that aspect of filmmaking. And I tried to do that. So I went to apply to a few colleges in LA. I ended up going to Cal State Northridge with the intention of getting in their program. So I was in the provisional side. They make you apply into the program after 2 years of being there, just to cull students, I guess. I'm not entirely sure, but I went into film production and at the school. And after about a year of being there, so still freshman year, but just always trying to absorb more knowledge, trying to be on set and any capacity that I can. I even reached out in high school. I found out one of my physio teacher, she was dating someone in the industry. He's a producer and stuff. So I'm like, hey, can I have his number? So it was great. I went, met him and met contacts through them, and just getting small gigs here and there, trying to get on set and learning more. And I realized being a DP is a lot of work, and a lot of time spent on projects before they happen and then after they happen, because at the end of the day, it's like you're the person that's controlling the image, but there's a lot more hands making that happen. So I feel like for me, that's not the best place to be. At DP, I would get very emotionally attached to every project, I think, and not have a balance of outside of work. Just doing a lot of unpaid days, laboring over the projects and stuff. So yeah, so I was thinking, okay, what aspects do I like creatively in the film process? And I really enjoyed lighting. I wanted to continue to work on lighting. So I was like, okay, let's try and work my way up to be a gaffer. Work as much as I can. But yeah, that's kind of what led me to where I am. Right now, I do a lot of commercial work and fell into that world of gaffing, a lot of product commercials. So Hexclad and Zwilling was working with a company called Food Thieves quite a bit. Their production company, they work with a lot of food stuff as well, a lot of brands, and then doing a lot of beauty work as well. And then I still work as a best boy for another gaffer, and he's done a lot of music videos, done a lot of commercials as well. So just trying to keep busy as I continue to work and see what the industry has to offer and what jobs I kind of fall into and the little niches that we have.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. So my follow-up question to that is so when you walk onto set, just let's say a music video to start, we have a blank canvas per se. And you're getting direction from the director and the producers and all that to kind of guide you and say, okay, we're going to have Taylor Swift stand here, and you figure out how they want the light to shine here, kind of like you're saying, and then you kind of build all that out. Or what is your day go through the whole process of a music video? Day one you're doing this, day two you're doing this, by the end you're doing this.
Yeah, typically music videos are a little different, just because they have a lot more leeway to be less natural feeling in terms of the lights, the set design, everything. It's your world's your oyster, right? But I think typically on most sets, I'll be brought in the process by the DP, sometimes by the production if they enjoyed working with me in the past and have a new DP they don't know yet, and they trust me. Sometimes they'll call me first, but typically the DP has been already on the process of the pre-production process and learning what the pitch deck was, what everything was, what the look they're going for. So they'll probably start communicating with me, and hopefully our art department, to figure out what the sets are going to look like, what lights we're going to try and do, what we need them to do. So if we have a music video with a lot of color, typically we're going to have to think more LED world, to have a lot more flexibility of color, especially if they don't know exactly what colors they want. Otherwise, we're going to be spending a lot of money on the gels and colored gels, and basically it's thin rolls of plastic that they'll put in front of lights, and that'll alter the color, the how hard or soft the light is, and stuff. But because it's just each roll of gel is typically anywhere from, depending on the length of it, but probably $400 to $200 to $600, give or take. So you can't just get a bunch of those anymore, and they're becoming less popular. So at least in the color side of things. So typically it'll dictate more LED world, figuring out what fixtures we need to use and what they're going to use. If I need to put lights in the set, I'll have to talk to art department about that, what they're thinking. And all that. So usually I do a couple days of prep before the shoot. For music videos, sometimes things change the night before. So we plan as much as we can, and hopefully that way we have game plans to go into it. Sometimes we have days before where we're actually hanging the fixtures and lights and stuff before anyone else arrives or other departments arrive and stuff. So just to get the ball rolling. But I think on the day, I'm probably making sure the plans are the same that we talked about. And then I'll talk to my best to start delegating with the rest of the team, like what needs to be done. We'll prioritize getting power set because we need to power the set, power typically to all the other departments and stuff that need power. So you'll need hair and makeup. You'll have camera department for the batteries and like village so everyone can see it and everything. And then sometimes I'm running power to the craft services that need it. So
and you guys are overseeing the generator or whatever if you're on.
Yeah. So either if we're on stage, they'll typically have mains power. So we'll have power runs like in the walls and stuff. So we'll break out of that and then distribute the power from there. And then other times we'll have to bring in a generator to power up like houses and stuff, or sometimes even for studios if we run out of power available on set.
So you start with like a pre-planning, pre-production kind of thing. You get there, you kind of set up, you build it out. And then when they're filming, are you just on standby for when they're like, oh, the light's not hitting them just right, can you move it and whatever?
Yeah. Typically, the gaffer and key grip will be, we'll be right next to the DP, assisting them, looking at the monitor, trying to figure out, hopefully, like tweaks and stuff before they let us know. Just trying to make sure because they have a lot on their mind, and typically in the hierarchy of things, you're just trying to support the person above you. So making sure they're all set and happy.
Do you look up lighting? Like, how do you learn the lighting techniques? Is there like YouTube classes, or is it like you're just on set and they're saying, okay, we want the sun to come through this window right here, and we want a nice glow, and then they kind of teach you how to do that on set, or where did you learn?
I feel like on set, learning from other people that have just done it without thinking too much of it. I think with the lighting, there definitely you need to train your eye to look at light differently than a lot of people. I think I, for one, have always kind of been interested in light and looking at it. Sometimes like I'll be on a dinner date and just be noticing like the sun raking across like all the different tables there, or I walk into a room and notice the different light fixtures above the tables or the sconces or what have you. I'll be observing it and looking like what it's doing to the location, but then also like what's the light doing on the face, like how's it wrapping the position relative to the person and the angle.
Do you randomly just like, you're in a restaurant, you're like, wow, this is perfect lighting, I need to take a photo of this, or like see how it looks on camera or something like that?
Sometimes I'll take photos, but for the most part, I just kind of try and remember positions of like, okay, where is the sun relative to the window, and see, okay, in order to replicate that, I'll just need to take a big light and just put it right over there. Other times, like, there's different things to look at and to look for. I think for the most part, just working with a lot of talented people that have done this before, like you'll learn a lot of different tricks and little tips that you'd never really even thought of before. And sometimes, especially now, like with cameras being so sensitive to light, whereas before, like you had to use a lot of big fixtures, a lot of hot fixtures and stuff, just to get exposure. Nowadays you can shoot with almost no light at all. Like sometimes, like when you're doing a day exteriors with certain cameras, like you're worried about the street lights being too powerful and shaping those out. So other times there's nothing there, or you just need to put 80 foot cranes with a bunch of lights on there, like 200 feet away, and just washing everything, to have more control. But different jobs have different processes. So sometimes I've seen, as for specific shoots, you'll make custom like LEDs and stuff that you'll put inside things, or for set decoration, and just give a little something. I've seen inside like cases or like cups or chalices even for certain movies and stuff. But yeah, there's just so much to do now, and so much like innovation that's been happening for the past even 20 years. Like what's going on today technology wise was just unthinkable.
What does an average shift look like for you being on set?
In the commercial space and in most other cities and stuff, it's 10-hour days is pretty traditional. You show up and you have your 10 hours broken up by your lunch. And in LA, it's 12 hours is pretty standard. I also, as a best boy, sometimes I do drive. It's non-union, so we don't have the department heads or their best person drive the trucks and stuff. So sometimes I'll be starting my day an hour before, because I'm there checking the equipment on the truck, driving the truck to set, and then I'll have to drive it back. So I've worked like 22-hour days before for music videos, because it's cheaper to say you can do it for this budget and then just go over than plan for 2 days.
So what are some of your like favorite experiences working in your experience?
I think for me, I'm just such a nerd. Like I love the different the technical like setups and stuff. That's really fulfilling to me, to have something that you think of couple days before, or weeks before even, and you're like planning it out and building it in your head, and either in your software to plan it and stuff. But then you show up on the day and you do it. And I think that's just super rewarding to know, or to see what you did in the planning process. You see it in front of you, and you see what it's doing to the set, and you see people that are happy with the result. Whether or not they know how much work you've put into it or not, there's always going to be more work to do, and people that are working harder than you, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's just so fulfilling to see how much control you have over the result with just lights. At the end of the day, we're plugging things in and turning things on, but there's just such a difference that we can make, and I think it's really cool and rewarding.
Well, I think of any show when I've watched like the behind the scenes where they like dramatically cut the scene, and it goes from like really boring to like that crisp cinematic look where you're like, now that's a movie, and it's like nothing really changed but the lighting in the shot.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy to see how much like light and stuff just changes your emotion and your thought process on certain scenes, with color, with just the depth of it all. It's just, there's a lot of things that come together. As much as I want to say lighting's the most important element in it, there's so many different things, whether it's costumes or art department, making sure like the walls are painted a certain color, the chairs are reflecting this certain color, like, or the material of everything. All these little things add together. I think lights are just the easiest to show such stark difference. I think in the world of instant gratification, it's really nice.
Yeah, no, seriously, I just like I remember seeing like I don't know if it was a meme or a video or whatever, but it was like depending on where you put that top light can make them look like a bad guy versus like a good guy versus like, oh, I'm gonna mug you versus like I'm so happy kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. No, we have all these years of experience of like what's worked and then what's just traditionally accepted for that mood or feeling that you're trying to do with position of light, and then you play with the quality of light as well to see if it's something like right here, which is really soft and flattering because it's cloudy outside and very diffused, or if you want to go really hard and get like dramatic shadows, get more dramatic like film noir, like hyper dramatic shadows or something like that. But there's a place for everything, and a lot of tools to do the job. And
when you were starting out versus now, like, did you have any misconceptions about what the entertainment industry was when you were in school thinking about all the lighting versus what you know now?
Yeah. I think the size and the scale, like I was just so, I don't think I was naive, but I just like couldn't fathom it. Like on uh, huge shows and huge projects, they'll have hundreds, sometimes thousands of people just in the lighting department, just spread out. So you'll have like your main unit team, and they might have 20 people in the lighting department, and then you have like the rigging teams. They'll come in before and after you get there, to set up all the lights where you want. You'll have your separate rigging gaffer, rigging vet, the same organized list, but it's just a different team that just never see the talent when they get there, because they're always working on the next thing. Like there's just so many different things to do, and the budgets just are insanely high for what it is. And just I didn't fully comprehend how big things could get, because obviously you see the behind the scenes photos and stuff, but you see the setups. You never really see how much people it took to get there, and logistics of, say, a car commercial. They'll close down a mile of street in the city in LA. So like you'll have to have cops at every intersection. Like you don't think of those things like really ever until it happens.
Well, yeah, you think about these movies where you're like, how is this movie $300 million? Like that is so much money. And then you're like, oh, the police officers that are needed to be on set that day. And then you think about the lighting people, and you think about, the assistant to the assistant, and like all these people are getting paid. All these people need money. And it's like these cameras are so expensive. And I remember when I was working, it was like those, like people would ask me that. And I was like, when you watch the credits roll on a movie, and it's just like every single line is literally someone's full-time job, just working on that movie is their life.
I see a lot of comments and stuff on Instagram, whether you see a big setup, and there's always the people that are like, you don't need this. You don't, this is so overkill. You don't need 20 people in this crew. I could do this with like me and four lights. And like, I'm sure you could get a good product with that, and that's what you're going for. But I think the productions call for such precision. And then also you just need more people and more equipment to make it safe at that point. Like I'm not gonna rig a light above an actor's head without knowing that it's not gonna fall. Like, or I'm not gonna try and rush the people and do this all with 4 people. And if I can get 6 people and do it safer, because I don't want my people to get injured, I think there's a give and take with everything. And I think, even with just the look and control of projects, like if you want to have a continuous look and you're shooting this direction out the window for 8 hours in the day, the sun's going to move. So you need to figure out a way to control the set so it's unaffected by the sun, and keep it consistent or whatever it is. Or you're in a studio, and that costs money too. So
what in the future does your career look like? Where do you want it to go? Do you want to stay in lighting?
Yeah, I wish I knew. I think I would love to gaff more projects and work on more projects as a gaffer. Probably transition in that full time instead of best boying and stuff on the occasion.
On movies, commercials, music videos, what are you thinking?
I think commercials. I really enjoy. I think that's a sweet spot for me. I think with movies you have weeks to plan everything usually, and then you're on it for so long. And it's not that I get bored, and I don't want to sound ungrateful for being on projects for that long, but I think for me, I just sometimes feel understimulated. So for me, I would have to have a great crew to work with, a great boss to work with, and then the script and story needs to resonate with me for me to want to put a lot of time away, because at the end of the day, that's a lot of time that I'm spending away from my wife and my dog, and like a lot of time away from family and friends that I can see outside of work, and that becomes my life for months at a time sometimes, and I think with music videos, it's cool. You could do creative stuff and like real, like, again, you can do anything you want as long as you could dream it and have the money to do it. But you typically don't have a lot of prep time to really plan and then execute all the things that you want to do. I think commercials have that sweet spot where you have a little bit more time to plan things, and then you make your setups and execute it. And they're not long enough for you to kind of feel stagnant in a way. And I think there's just different types of jobs that keep popping up. So you have multiple things on rotation. So I think it's a little bit more stressful, a little less job security, but because you have more things on rotation, I think it's more fulfilling and helps me feel like I'm continuously growing and learning more rather than falling into the cracks and falling into the patterns of just doing the same setups over and over again. In the union world, there's a fixtures team and department in the lighting department, and they're specifically there to work on the installs of like any LEDs or anything inside the set built with like art production. So you say like stages, like you see the voice, right? You have all like the LED, on the chairs, the walls, and like just the plasters, like the floor, everything. And there are people that are dedicated to retrofit and make custom lights and circuits for those stage builds and stuff. And in the non-union world, we don't really have that. Typically, the art department takes care of it. But I think I would love to try and kind of find my niche into making custom LED fixtures and making it that way. It just says, with all the love in the world, the art department doesn't necessarily know as much in terms of like what specific things we need to make the LED lights work and the control we need over them. So there's a lot of technical specifications that if they don't know, then they don't know. And to be honest, like I don't think a lot of them care to know. I think they have a lot on their plate, and they don't want to have more things to worry about. So I think a world where I can make custom lights and little LED fixtures and things where I can hide them in areas for cars and for other things, I think is a world I want to dive into.
As we kind of wrap up the show, do you have any advice for those who are just getting started and they want to go into lighting and, into production on, just getting started? What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I think for me, there's a lot of information that I learned either by books or on the internet in terms of best set practices and best things to get started on. I think having that baseline knowledge So that way it's like going to the gym, right? If you show up in the gym, you just walk in with no prior knowledge of anything, it's super overwhelming. There's so many machines to do, there's so many people, and the last thing you want to do is embarrass yourself, hurt yourself, or danger someone else that's in there. I think it's the same thing on set. Like, there are certain protocols that happen and certain etiquette that you need to follow. Obviously, you will learn them the more you go, but having a baseline of just best practices to keep everyone safe and to keep you from being, I guess, getting more comfortable with working and more confident. I think it's gonna be your best bet to hopefully get on more sets, I think. But yeah, I just think have a good attitude, work hard, have a good attitude. Don't be rude. Yeah, don't be rude. And I think also just like keep in touch. I think there's a lot of people and a lot of jobs, and like I think obviously within reason, don't like text someone every single day or every week or something just to be like, hey, do you have any work? But I think keeping in touch every couple months.
You talked about books. Do you have any recommendations or things that people can go to?
Yeah. So there's a couple. There's one from, I think it's like lighting with LEDs or lighting with a new LED world or something like that. It's by Alan Steinheimer. He's a gaffer in the Bay Area, California. Does a lot of commercials, but he has a YouTube channel as well with some basic stuff. The more technical book is the Set Lighting Technician's Handbook. That one's a dense book. So if you're really technical and really want to just learn, that's definitely a good place to start. You'll learn a lot from it, but it's very dry. So the other one's a little bit easier to dip your toes into. Grip side, I think, in the other side of the lighting department, there's the Grip book. That one is pretty darn good. And I can't remember. There's a couple different lighting books with more like lighting theory, less technical work and stuff, and usually dictated more towards cinematographers. But I know a simple Google search would help with that. I just haven't read those ones yet. I think in terms of YouTube channels, I think that's an easy way to get knowledge. I think Meet the Gaffer is Alan Steinheimer and Luke Servild. Both of them are on the show every once in a while, but Luke Servild's also a gaffer in the Bay Area. He does a lot of tutorials and a lot of different things. He's a great resource that I had when I got in. I think Andrew Locke with Gaffer and Gear is a little bit more technical for lighting stuff. And then there's Gaffer's Salon.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I really appreciate it. All your insight is super, super unique and super awesome. I've really enjoyed just kicking it and chatting with you in this past hour. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course. And for those, listening at home, thank you so much for sticking to the very end of the video and learning more about lighting and gaffing and all the fun things of working on a set of production and figuring out all the lighting techniques. If you could, please subscribe to our channel or follow along on the podcast. Please leave a comment if you have any questions for Andrew or want to hear a specific job in the future. We're appreciative of it all. And thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.